Welcome to Rise and Shine. I am Vuyanzi. We know that Jeremiah 29:11 starts off with, "For I know the plans that I have for you." And I'm going to pause right there because today that is what we're talking about. Purpose, our power and our purpose, and how to walk in purpose. So if you have been one who's been, let's say, in your career for 15, 20, 25 years, and you're wondering, am I really living in my purpose and my power? Or you're starting to feel a shift and saying, I think something is shifting about where I'm supposed to be and what it is I'm supposed to be doing, then you'll want to stay tuned. But now, since I have your attention, I want to speak to you for a moment about those of you who've been hearing me, quite frankly, ask you for money every week and you're teetering on the fence. Get off the fence. Listen, each week, not only here on Rise and Shine, but throughout Family TV and Family Radio, we are bringing you good programming. Programming where you can take lessons and apply them to your life afterward, programming that empowers and inspires you. So I ask you today, please be a part of the Family Media family. And there's two ways you can do that. If you're thinking a one-time donation from anywhere in the world, you can download the M-Pesa app. You can click on Pay Bill, and the Pay Bill number is 316-316. Now, if you want to be a partner, then I'm going to ask you to go ahead and open up your WhatsApp app, and you can send a message to 0786 316 316 with the word partner. Now, oh my goodness, and how could I forget? For the first time ever on this show, there will be a giveaway. So yes, exactly. You're thinking, oh, I better watch the whole thing. Absolutely. You better watch the whole thing. So now let's get to the conversation about how to walk in power and purpose. So here are my guests today. I am so happy to have Aggie and Michelle who are with us. Both are coaches. Aggie, you are a transformational coach, and Michelle, you are an international coach. And for both of you, I know that you are helping people to really walk into their purpose, to really get into their purpose. You may say it in different ways, but ultimately that's what you're looking to help people to do. Also, to be walking in their power, because I actually want to have this conversation also around power too. So I'm going to have you both introduce yourselves and how you're helping people. And then, of course, I want to get into how you guys even got into finding your own purpose. But first, let's talk about what you do. So Aggie, I'm going to start with you. Please introduce yourself and what it is that you do.
Awesome. No, it's a pleasure being on the show, Vuyanzi. Thanks a lot for reaching out, and excited to be joining you today. So my names are Aggie Asimwekonde. I'm a Pan-Africanist. I have lived in about 5 cities across the world.
Oh, wow.
And I like to identify myself as a transformational coach because I have done lots of stuff from, I have a career, I'm a career executive. I sit on different boards. So I'm also a governance person. I am a coach. I am a golfer. I'm a mother. I'm a fun person, but also I am very intentional about living and about life. And that's how I got myself into this journey as a transformational coach.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Michelle, tell us a little bit more. I know when I see you, you are the international coach. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing.
Okay, so I work in quite a few different fields. So I work with children, I do one-to-one with adults, but I also work with companies, so groups and organisations. I work with a lot of different groups, and, ultimately it always links to people's purpose, because your purpose is, another way of saying it is your why, your motivation. If we don't have that why, if we're not aligned with that, then really what's our focus? What's our direction? So purpose really gives us that sense of where we want to go and why. And as I said, from kids to adults to companies to groups, often those things are missing. So then they work with people like us, coaches, and we can help them to really do that roadmap for their life. You know, what are my values? What's my purpose? What's my why? And when you know that, then you can check in and see, am I on purpose? Does this serve me?
Oh my goodness. Let me just tell you, some of what you've said is going to land on so many things that we talk about today. Now, I have to tell you both, it's taking all of my energy just to sit in this chair because I love this topic. I want to be standing up and on a microphone blasting it to the world. So I'll do my best to just be calm and talk about purpose. So let's go with the why. Let's start with the why. I know there's a book by Simon Sinek that says starting with the why. And first I want to get into both of you. And what is your why? Like, yes, you've told us what you do, but how did you come about finding your purpose of empowering and coaching people? Aggie, actually, Michelle, let me just stay with you for a bit because you opened up that door. So I'm going to ask you to be the first to walk through it.
Okay. Oh, thank you. That's a good or a bad thing.
It's a good door to walk through.
Okay. So in terms of my own purpose, I did have a think about this. And I knew actually from a very young age, if I think about when I was a child, I do remember being in maths at school in the UK, and going around, and we didn't have the best maths teacher. So I'm sure a lot of us can probably relate to that. Probably very good at maths, but maybe not the teaching part. So I remember at secondary school going around and actually teaching the other children in the class, so explaining it to them. Because maths is also not my biggest strength. I'm more big picture, I'm more artsy, that sort of thing. So I would teach myself maths. And then, you see, when I taught myself, then I would teach others in the class. And basically that has been, if I look back, that's been the blueprint of my whole life.
That's so interesting.
Because I knew I was going to have more than one profession, so I started off as a teacher. But
Me too.
Yeah, we're the best.
Hey.
Yeah. So I started off in that profession, but I knew that I wasn't going to be a teacher forever. I wanted to be a psychologist, a therapist. So I did my degree in psychology, and then I did a postgraduate in education because I didn't want to limit myself, because I knew that I would teach and then move on. And then my journey just went from teaching to teacher training, and then I became a coach, and then I was coaching adults, then people started sending me their children. So all my work, even though it's different now, it all starts from a core of my purpose being about empowering others, so teaching them. So even though maybe it's gone from education to, different things in companies and whatever, the core is still the same, and that is I like to learn, and when I've learned it, I like to share. And anything that you see that I do, it's always from that. So I will learn about something, I will digest it, I will practice it so that you're authentic, because you're living it.
Yeah.
And then I share with others, and that's everything I do. It comes from that.
Wow, it's so much of a very similar path. It's funny how you can be in two different worlds and be walking along a very parallel path. Oh, that's also very inspiring how the crux of it starts off as the same. Learn, share, empower others. Thank you so much for sharing that, Michelle. Aggie, I'm coming over to you. How did you find your purpose to even thrust you into this work?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And I think I do relate a lot with what Michelle just talked about, because I believe that it's in connecting the dots of our lives that we get to actually figure out what our purpose is, because everything that we have experienced is for a reason, as we all know. But for my particular journey, I think I was one of those people, I like to call it operating in a red ocean. Where, you go to school and you're told what does success look like, get very good grades, get a great job, get married and live life thereafter, right? So I was on a race to break certain boundaries at a very early age. So I was like, I need to be CEO before I turn 40. Bang, I became CEO before I turned 40. I said, I want to lead a regional institution before I turn 45. Bang, I got my regional CEO job before I did that. Then in 2019, on the 15th of January, something happened to my life that changed the trajectory of my focus. And that was, I survived the Dusit attack that happened in 2019. What happened is, I was the CEO then of an organization called Msingi, and we had offices in Dusit, which is a building on Riverside in Kenya. And terrorists came and took over the building, and 21 people died. And when I said 21 people died, those terrorists came and hit my office door twice. And we were hidden in the server room. I think we were like 9 people in my office in the server room. And we were there for over 15 hours. I must say, and to this date, I keep thanking the Kenya Defense Forces, we were the last group that was saved after they took down all of the terrorists in that building. And on that day, I asked myself, God, save me. If you save me, I will do a lot more work for you. Yeah. And I will stop chasing my goals. Because literally, I was like just chasing every career target, one after the other. And I was actually achieving all of them. Yes. But then I felt so empty. I felt so alone. In that moment, I couldn't even pray. I just don't even know what happened, because while I was because I'm Catholic, so I was like saying, let me say the rosary and whatever, but I would just say one Hail Mary and I would stop there. I just couldn't. I was frozen. So I just kept telling God, I said, my children, my family, my this, because I'm Ugandan and I was here working in Kenya. So I didn't even have family here, but, my cousin, Sylvia that lives in Kenya, she was the only one waiting out there. By the time we came out at 3, because the place was taken over by the terrorists from 12, I lost one of my colleagues was killed. One other lady survived because a bullet went through her stomach, but she survived, thank God. But it was horrific that people we would meet every day in corridors, you would just walk over and say, this person died. 21 people died. So on that day when I was saved, I asked God, please clarify to me, what is my purpose? What am I here to do? What did you create me for? Because really the targets I was chasing were meaningless at that point. So that's when I really went into a self-discovery journey. And I started asking myself, so every time, just like, Michelle has spoken, I started realizing that I actually used to help people, that, even in my workplaces, there would be many people who would feel like they failed at the job. Then I would just sit down with them and I would help them see a different perspective of what they would do. And they would ace it. Later on, they would stand out to be the best performers. They would stand up to be. So I went on a journey to say, I would like to ignite the greatness in others. And that is how I found my purpose.
Wow. So I just want to pause right here, because even though we're looking at 2 very different stories, and I want to say thank you, Aggie, for sharing that much of yourself. I know it's a sensitive area. However, I think it's so meaningful that you shared that with people, because whether it's a story similar to yours, Michelle, that this is just what I used to do as a kid and you connected the dots together, or it's yours, Aggie, where you experienced literally a life-changing event, people should feel empowered that no matter which way it is that they come from, there is purpose. Yes. There is a way to getting to their purpose. So now I'm feeling so emotional. So if you're hearing my nose getting stopped up a little, it's because I'm stuffing the tears back in my face. So I want to say, now let's get into the $1 million question, and then we'll kind of riff from here. But how do we find our purpose? If people are in the middle of your 2 stories, they're like, well, I didn't show kids what to do as a child, and I wasn't in the middle of a terrorist attack. How do I find my purpose, Michelle? How do you begin to guide them towards that?
Good question. Yes. So there's a very simple exercise that I do with my clients, a purpose exercise. And you simply just ask them the question, why do you do what you do? But you keep repeating the question. And I always explain to people, because they're like, why are you asking me the same question over and over and over again? And then I say, it's going to sound very strange. I've done it myself, because any exercise that I do, I think it's important that you experience it yourself. So you just keep saying, why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? And they probably come to a point where maybe they're repeating or they're stuck. So you say, take a deep breath, walk around the room. I said, as a coach, I love it when you're struggling to find the answer, because that means when you're deep thinking. We don't want, I'll do this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We want it where you're, the sweat's coming.
Yes.
I'm joking.
Yes.
But you're really thinking, because you're really going to that depth. And then if it's in a group situation, there's a partner, or if it's one-to-one, it's me. So then you record what they keep saying, the words, and you don't say any comment. It's just, why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? And then you write it down, and then you give it back to them, and then you ask them to group it. So they would highlight it or whatever, because then they will see that there's a pattern. And then you say, what awareness is coming up for you? So maybe, maybe it's, for me, it's teaching and learning. Maybe it comes up in different ways of saying the same thing. But maybe they see, yes, I've highlighted teaching and learning, but in different ways. Then you get them to keep grouping it. So they highlight it. Can you group it into families? Maybe they come up with 5 families. Then you do some exercises to say, which one is more important? Is this more important? Is this more important? Till you whittle it down. And that's a very sort of easy way of getting them to find their purpose.
Wow. I hope my audience is taking notes. I usually tell them to, but hopefully they're being reminded, because I'm hearing a key question. Why do you do what you do? That's correct, right?
Yeah.
And so thank you. That's awesome. And by the way, I just want to point out something. Right now, we're making Rise and Shine history, because I have 2 non-Kenyans sitting on the Rise and Shine couch. Woo! This is celebration. It's the first.
But I must say that I am Kenyan by marriage.
Yes, right. By marriage, by birth. Let's talk about birth.
But not birth, yes.
Yeah,
I will say that,
birthplaces, right?
Because
Both
my
of you.
children are Kenyan.
UK and Uganda.
Uganda.
Yes, yes.
But we have to say UK Jamaican.
Oh,
There you go.
I'm British Jamaican.
yes, I love it. I love it. So we are making history here, and
Diversity,
it's history that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
So thank you both again for being here. So now back to the $1 million question. Aggie, how does one find their purpose?
Yeah, so great question. And I think I would also like to layer again on Michelle's comment is on top of why do you do what you do? I think the second question I ask is, why is it important? Why is it important? Because, if you ask me what do I do and why do I do it, it's very easy for people to say to earn a living, so I do a job to earn a living. But why do you want to earn a living? Then takes us to the second layer of the why question, which is probably to impact people or to change people's lives or to do this, to do that. So for me, it resonates with one of the biggest, commandment in the Bible, which is love thyself as you love others, right? Yes. Which is, so if you are on earth to love yourself, you are just a portion of why you were created. But if you come and serve, your purpose on earth is you're actually helping others to be better. And that is where I layer in my first area of expertise, because I'm a marketer, I'm a chartered marketer. And I always tell people is that if only we took the principles we learn in the marketing class or the practices we carry out at work and applied those in our personal lives, I think we would all be operating at level A, or in life would be extraordinary. And it's in being extraordinary that you then get to change many people's lives. And we honestly wouldn't be sitting in a continent or in a region like Sub-Saharan Africa, where 30-40% of people are living below the poverty line. So, and again, the other question I tell people is that how much of your income do you spend supporting your family? It's usually between 40 to 70%. And why are you supporting them? Because they cannot afford a decent life. Therefore, what can we do to change their lives so that you can keep more of your earning? Because it is we don't need to keep giving people fish. We need to teach them how to fish, right? So if we teach people how to hunt, if we teach people how to fish, then we stop being either the gazelle or the lion, which is another example I give most of my clients, is in life, we go about life either being a gazelle, so you're being chased all the time, and you run out of energy. So we need to stop the chasing and the being chased scenario. And that is where purpose comes in. That if we are super intentional about finding our blue ocean, about what makes us deeply unique and different, then we come into the world to serve others, because that's what makes our DNA very different.
So you talk about the blue ocean. Can you just explain a little bit about what you mean when you're saying the blue ocean?
Yes, I do. Because so the blue ocean principle, again, my marketing heart, it says, how do you make competition irrelevant? And if you think about it at the workplace, when you are in the workplace, you're competing for one job app. So you are X number of people and all of you are competing for one job app. So if that job doesn't come, what happens? Are you incompetent? No. So if you are incompetent in any case, if you're not the right person for the job, how are you supporting the person that has gone up? So that is a red ocean that we've been conditioned to believe that there's so little in the world, that we then have a fixed mindset, as opposed to believing that there's abundance. There's so much to solve for. There's so much for each of us to contribute and expand the cake. So the blue ocean thinking talks about how do you make the competition irrelevant by creating what makes you different, and therefore what makes you complement rather than compete.
So what I'm hearing is red ocean is scarcity.
Yes.
Blue ocean is abundance.
Correct.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So many gems are being dropped. Okay. So here I want to ask this because there was something that you said, and I'm going to pop over to you, Michelle, but there's something, Aggie, you had said, and when you talked about you were ambitious, you wanted to get to this goal, you wanted to get to that goal. Now, I know both of you have worked, I'm sure, with some women or people who were like that, where it's about ambition. And maybe some of them feel like their purpose is wrapped up in those things. So I guess I want to have a bit of a conversation about purpose versus career, or purpose versus business, or can purpose and business be all wrapped up? Sometimes I know, even as a coach, people have come to me like, I'm working this career, but I don't know if it's actually my purpose. So let's kind of open up that part, because I know it's not always clear to people. Michelle, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts around purpose versus career versus business, and whether or not it's really intertwined?
Yeah, so again, another interesting question. I think it's like once you've decided what your purpose is, then it's about sort of looking at your life from above. So you can do it in two ways. Is your job just your job for earning money? Yeah? Or is it more of a career in the sense of it's aligned with your purpose? So you make that decision. You make your decision, where are you going to achieve your purpose? Is it so this is just one option, yeah?
Okay.
So am I going to achieve my purpose through my work? Because, not always, people don't always have that. And then the stuff I do outside is aligned with my purpose. Or am I going to be able to do a job which is aligned with my purpose? So, there's different ways of doing it, because maybe for whatever reason, someone is stuck in a job, maybe later on they're going to change career, but they can't always do it instantaneously. So in order to make them feel fulfilled, they can then look at ways that they can be honouring their purpose in other ways. So maybe, it's about giving to others. So perhaps then they're doing voluntary work at the weekend or in the week or in their holidays. So it can be separate, but then also you can make that decision. This is my purpose. So all of us here were in that sort of teaching, learning, scaffolding place of work. So then we're doing our purpose through our work as well. So we've also made that decision. So it can be sometimes, yes, I'm going to change my career, but later.
Right.
But that doesn't mean to say that then I'm not going to honour my purpose. I'm going to look at other ways. So it's about really looking at your life and thinking about, so every day being conscious, not on that autopilot. Today, how can I serve my purpose? What can I do? So I can do it in this section. I can do it with work. So it's not necessarily a clear-cut all or nothing question.
I'm sure that comes as a relief to many people who are like, do I change my career completely? But you're saying we have a choice about purpose.
Yes.
Where it is we want to live it out. Okay, excellent. And a little bit from you on that as well, Aggie?
Yeah. So I could add that it's actually the intersection between what you're good at doing, which could be your job or a skill or whatever, what you're passionate about, what you are intending to change in the world and what you can get paid for. So I use the Ikigai model to kind of like bring that intersection. So I feel it's that intersection because it is that sweet spot that makes you uniquely different from everybody else. And that is why exploring it is good, because then you get to know, how do you then live it at work? How do you live it at home? How do you live it with your friends? How do you live it as you're making money? So it's that, for me, I think I call it the North Star that guides the daily decisions that we make in life. So once you have clarity on that, it actually helps you to even put boundaries, when to say yes, when to say no. So saying yes to your show was very easy because my purpose is very clear. But before that, I would say yes to everything and I would be drowning.
I've been there before. Why am I in this?
Drowning in the blue ocean.
I would be drowning in the red ocean. I would be drowning in the red ocean. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you both. We are going to continue this conversation after the break. I love where it's going. After the break, I think we also need to introduce power into this conversation as well. Yeah. So those of you who are watching today, I know that you are getting some stuff from it. So a couple of things I want you to do. On our social media, I want you to make a comment, provide some feedback. Also, I'll give you a little bit more of a hint because remember, I'm giving away a gift. We're giving away a gift today. Those of you who comment will have more of a chance to win. Okay, so also thank you to those of you who have already donated or put through your support. And then finally, as we enter into the break, if you don't have the Family TV app, Family Media app on your phone, there are going to be some instructions on how to do that. Listen, you can get our programming on the go anywhere, and I'm sure you have a lot of apps already, so why not make Family Media another one? We will see you on the other side. Thank you so much.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio 316 straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store, respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine. And don't forget, you can catch us on the radio when you're on the go in Nairobi at 103.9, Nyeri at 87.9, Mombasa at 97.9, Nakuru at 102.1, Meru at 107.7, and Kisumu at 96.3. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we are talking about how to walk in purpose and power, or power and purpose. However, we really haven't touched in on the power part. But beforehand, we've been talking about how to find your purpose and what you can really do to dig in. Now, if you're just joining us, where have you been? Welcome, come, join the conversation, grab your notebook. Okay, other than that, now let's get into, with both of my guests, Michelle and Aggie, I want us to get into now power. How do we connect power and purpose, or maybe are they the same things? I'm not really sure. So, Aggie, why don't I start with you? How do we connect power in purpose?
Okay, great. I think probably it's probably one and the same, but I think they could be defined differently depending on where you are. And I like to usually give some valid examples because we've seen and we all know different leaders that have abused power. And leaders that have actually made good use of power, right? And that is why we see economies that have thrived, that are inclusive, that have everybody in the economy literally being able to afford a decent life. I talk a lot about that because my day job, I work in agriculture and I'm passionate about building inclusive economies on the continent. But we've also seen leaders that have totally abused power. So when it comes to personal mastery, which is the area of my coaching, is I also believe that as individuals, we make one of two choices. We make a choice to abuse our power, or we make a choice to actually make good use of the power we have. And what is that power I'm referring to? It is the God-given power, which is the talents that we were given when we were brought on earth, right? So we all know that story in Matthew 25 of the 3 servants that were given different talents. And then one particular servant, in the name of obedience, went and buried their talent in the ground, right? And then the enterprising servants went and multiplied their talents. And on return of their boss, the one that buried their talent was removed. So we all know that saying of those that have will be given more, and those that do not have, the little will be taken. So I like to talk about that story in reference to power, that we all have innate power. But how we use that power is dependent on how well we know our purpose and how well we apply that purpose in bringing our talents to the fore. So, did you know, for example, that most people that are in a single day job only earn up to 33% of their potential? By 33%, I'm talking about people who are at the top of their tier. So you are a CEO and you're earning at the top of your tier. Why is that? Because the job market defines a job. They give you a particular job. So if your purpose is not 100% that job description, you're only applying yourself with a part of what you can do. So it is in finding purpose that then you can be able to actually unleash your full potential. And for me, in delivering your full potential is then using your power to the fullest. So that is really how I define power, because most people, when you talk about power, they want to think about their bosses, they want to think about their leaders, they are thinking about others and not self. So how do you define the power you have to improve people's lives, to be a better father, to be a better mother, to be a better child, and applying those talents so that then you can make the world a better place for all of us.
So Aggie, I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. There's the discovery of purpose, and then there's, once you're working in your purpose, really using your power within the purpose, maybe even to make it more impactful or whatever the positive things that can be that come out of that. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, what I'm saying is that you can only unleash your full power if you know your purpose and you're applying yourself intentionally to living your full purpose. Okay. Otherwise, you are abusing power.
Ooh, okay. I do not want to be an abuser of power. Whiz. Okay, Michelle, what about you? How do you see that interconnectedness of power and purpose?
Okay. So purpose is your why. We're simplifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how I see power is about using your potential. So as you said there, your talents. So if you understand your purpose and your why, then that in essence is motivation, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So then I'm motivated to do what I do. I'm motivated to use those talents, use those skills that I have to be able to do, what I'm doing and achieving my power. So I think it really goes back to, you've got to have a real understanding. This is where the coaches come in.
Yes.
But you've really got to understand yourself, haven't you? You've got to have that self-awareness to understand what your purpose is, but also to understand, what are my strengths? What are my talents? What are my skills? Mm-hmm. If you think about where you get joy in your life, isn't it where you're shining? And obviously you're shining. I always look at it as 3 levels when we make a decision. What's good for me? What's good for others? What's good for the greater good? So if you make all your decisions based upon that, and then you're using your talents, aren't you going to feel in your power? You're going to feel the bomb, aren't you? You're going to be confident because you're using those abilities. You know why. So that's when you're in your power, because isn't power also about confidence? There's various tangents of what we mean by power, but part of being in your power as a woman, isn't it when you feel confident? I am confident that I'm living to my purpose. I am confident I'm making decisions for myself, for others, and the greater good. I am using my talents and my skills to do that. So we're all, high-performing coaches. We're all doing very well in our niches. And therefore, we're powerful, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Because we know that we are fulfilling our potential and we are helping and serving others and looking at those 3 levels. So that's when you're in your power, isn't it?
Listen, I'm trying to just calm down and get my questions together over here. However, what you're saying, I'm just feeling so connected to that, because I'm thinking about, at times, I'm not here as a coach per se on this show as a coach. However, when I'm operating in my gift or in my purpose, when do I feel good?
Yeah.
I feel confident. And I'm sharing that with the audience, because I want them to connect that purpose with feeling something connected to it. Now, I do want to ask a bit of a provocative question, right? Because we're talking about motivation. Of course, when you're living in your purpose, there's the motivation. So it gives the if you will, the possible idea that when we're in our purpose, it's something that we want to do. Now, I want to bring up the story of who was it? It was Jonah. And if anyone knows about this guy, there was a purpose that he was running away from. And he got swallowed up by a big old fish. Okay. Ew, gross. But besides that, so I want to ask you, when we're talking about purpose, are there times we're being called to do something that we don't want to do, but it's actually our purpose? Aggie, I'm coming over to you with this very provocative question.
She's provoking you.
I know you're provoking me. Well, and I think where we started with, if you reflect on your life's lessons and life's learnings, you actually come to the realization that oftentimes you're running away from your purpose, and until you realize it, you then end up making a U-turn, which wasn't the case for me. But it was just, for me, it was a case of just not having the clarity that this is actually what I'm meant to do. So yes, you could sometimes be running away from your purpose, and therefore it calls for clarity and intentionality in knowing on whether this is your purpose. But for me, it must have meaning. It must have meaning, because if it has meaning, then sometimes it inspires you to want to do it. Because my personal coaching, I do it after hours. I tell everyone that we all have 24 hours in a day. So I have a full day job that I go to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then I have another full night where I can choose to watch TV, to sleep, or to do some meaningful work, right? Yeah. So it is in identifying what gives you meaning, what gives you joy, what gives you satisfaction, that you don't need any reminders, you don't need any inspirational music or sound bites or whatever. Those things that you tend to do naturally, you could be running away from them. And by running, I mean you could be not giving them sufficient attention, but they are the things that actually give you deep satisfaction, meaning, and joy. And if you find those things, there's no price tag to them. But the other caveat I put is you should also be able to monetize that. Because why? There are so many people that need those solutions.
Yes.
We are living in an ideation world where there's so many people that are grappling, they are lost, they have anxiety, they are looking for a pathway. So if you can help them find that pathway and give them joy and meaning and fulfillment, there should be a price tag to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have no problems with putting a price tag on my services. Michelle, what do you think about that?
So interesting. So I was just thinking of like clients that I've had and this dilemma that you're talking about. So often where it can come from is money. Because they're like, my heart, I really want to do this. But then they're in the trappings of, they've got a family, they've got school fees, they've got to whatever. And that job that they want to do is not earning as much. Yeah. Maybe it's in charity, whatever it is. So then you see they have that dilemma. Do I have this cushy job that's boring? But hey, it's giving me the money so that I can buy, whatever pressures. Maybe there's pressures from their family that they've got to have that car. The kids have got to go to that school, that sort of thing. So you see, that's where you get the dilemma. And that's where you often get people who have like midlife crisis. Mm-hmm. They're here. On paper, they've got that successful life. I went to that university. I did that conveyor belt. And then they come to us and they're like, I'm not understanding why I'm not happy. Yeah. So I'd say that dilemma can come in when that choice is the path they want to take is not aligned with the path that society, the family expect, expectation from others, and maybe it's not as lucrative financially. So they've maybe got trapped in that way of life, but really they want that way of life. So that's where the dilemma can come.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if I may chime in there, I think there's actually a beautiful solution for that. It shouldn't be an either or. I just talked about the 24-hour clock. You could actually stay in this day job, a job, right? But as you begin to explore the things that bring meaning, because the minute you identify those, then you bring those to the workplace. Now that brings new joy and meaning into the workplace, and you actually end up flourishing in a manner that you probably never did before. And then once, you figure out what this is, then the choice on whether to stay or to continue to pursue two paths becomes very clear for you, depending on, if you can afford that or the other. But I think it's worth exploring right now, as opposed to getting stuck in this is what I can afford now, and therefore I'll stay there.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Both of you are bringing out so many different topics, and that we always have limited time here, but there was something that you said, Michelle, that made me go to this. When you're saying people have worked all these years, they come, they call it midlife crisis. I don't like it, but yes,
you know what I'm
exactly. No, this is the word that comes up a lot of the times. Can purpose change?
Absolutely. We are human. Yeah. That means that we are not fixed in stone. Think about your musical taste. Think about what you liked to do when you were 20, when you were 30, when you were 40, etc., etc. We change. That's why. So, for example, we always make a big thing, don't we, on January the 1st about, what are my resolutions going to be? By March, you probably found that they've changed. We are evolving. We're learning. We're taking new things. That's being human. So actually, it's not like you say, right, this is my purpose forever. Yeah. No, I found a real shift when I started having my own family. So suddenly my values in terms of the priorities changed. They evolved as my kids got older. So we do not stand still. That's why we have to have this constant reflection daily, whenever we can, journaling. I know you like to journal, Aggie. So it's really important, and that's okay. It's okay for us to realise, well, actually, that was my purpose then, but now I've found out something more. I've got more knowledge, I've got more information. So now my purpose is this. So it's a lifelong journey, and therefore it will change, a path, different routes, and that's perfectly okay.
That's news that should send a wave of relief around. And the reason why I say that is I think people get caught up in whatever the purpose is, it is.
End of, yeah.
That's it. There's no changing. However, what I'm hearing from you, Michelle, is that we can breathe, that it's okay for purpose to change. Now, I want to shift this a bit because I know both of you gave us some gems on how people can start finding purpose. And I'm wondering if we could maybe dig into some more strategies for people rediscovering their purpose, or, what else they might do to really find their purpose in life and kind of begin to shift into that. Aggie, I'm coming to you. What might be some other ways, some practical ways our audience today can start digging into to rediscover their purpose?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I like to use typical management theories or frameworks that we all are very familiar with. And I think Michelle spoke about the SWOT, like your strengths and your weaknesses. Yeah. So in most cases, the world tends to think that you can be everything. Yeah, so you will have to be the perfect mold. And we all know there's nothing like a perfect mold. But I also, the more I have been reflecting on my purpose of igniting the greatness in others, is you realize that there is nothing wrong with not being perfect. Right? So our weaknesses...
What do you mean?
Our weaknesses are great.
Yes.
Our weaknesses are who we are.
Wow.
That's our DNA. But our strength, shining and creating the prowess on your strength, is what is usually underutilized. And many times when I ask people this question, what are the 2 things you're great at doing and you're greater at doing than anybody else in the workplace? It's usually a tough question to answer.
They can talk about what they're not good at, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But it's very easy to talk about what you're not good at doing. Oh, I need to improve this. I need to do this. I need to do. And yet you're leaving the gems. You're leaving your diamonds in the backyard. So my question is, in exploring our purpose, is finding the prowess in you and shining that diamond so bright that everybody will know you for that one thing. So if you can get that, then that is a journey worth living. That is a mile worth taking, because there's nothing that will stop you. And that fits in very well also, like with everybody who has mastered thyself has mastered something. So don't focus on your weaknesses, because you're never going to be everything. Focus on that one thing, 2 things that you're great at doing, and just go down that pathway until you're the master of it. Therein is your purpose.
Oh, wow. Wow, I just got to do some snaps there. Okay, let's keep it going. A practical strategy, Michelle. People can start looking for rediscovering or getting their purpose.
I mean, I hinted at it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Look to your childhood. What was it when you had more freedom that you gravitated towards? What did you
Especially at
like?
7 years old.
Yeah. What were the things that you gravitated? So it's like, I see you're like a detective, and there's little crumbs all through your life that give you little clues as to your purpose, your values, your deeper things. So childhood's a good one. Also, if you look at what energizes you in your day-to-day, even though we're all busy, everyone's busy, we're very proud we're busy, aren't we? How are you?
My calendar's full.
Yeah,
I can't
I'm busy.
see you. I'm busy.
It's like a badge of honor. You say, how are you? I'm busy. Let's off. I'm busy, I'm okay, or I'm fine. But I'm busy. We're all busy. Everybody's busy. So yes, we're all busy. But what is it that you find time to do? So it might be, what is it you find time to do at the weekend, in those spare moments when you have those holidays? So you can get feedback from your childhood. You can get feedback in terms of where do you put your energy? Where do you choose to focus on it? And you can also get feedback from people who know you, from your family and your friends, because they will give you, it's like in the business world, we talk about 360s, yeah? So we have that blind spot. We don't always see that, so it's very interesting to do those 360s. But we don't have to do it in the workplace. All these things apply to life. So get feedback from your loved ones, because sometimes they can see things, like they can go, wow, when you were talking about that, you lit up, or you were so excited about that. So they can also, so it's like getting sources of data. So from your childhood, from where you choose to spend your time, and from the people who know you. From those 3 sources, that can really, and also the knowledge of yourself as well, that's really good intel on what is your purpose, what fires you, what is your passion, what is your why.
I just wanted to add one more thing, is that if you looked at the last 5 calls you received in the last 3 months, and 5 calls of people saying, I'm calling you for this. What is that thing they're calling you for? Because when something comes to mind, they're like, who is your go-to person? Who's that person you will go to when you need something? And so what did people call you for?
As long as it's not money.
As long as it's not money.
Let's be clear. As long as it's not
But
money.
actually, that's the caveat. Usually it results in money, because that you're resourceful for something. So which areas are you super resourceful that people tend to come to you for that you take for granted? Yeah.
Okay, so many gems being dropped. Now, I want to come back to you, Michelle, because you talked about the childhood, and I think that's so interesting, because a lot of times we think about childhood as, oh, well, that's childhood. Not in terms of we were free. There was no responsibility. We let our hearts gravitate and our bodies gravitate to whatever it was that made us happy. So I think people really need to just kind of stop for a moment and think about how they played. Mine was a childhood of a lot of pretending. I pretended all day. But, and Aggie, for you, I'm thinking about this one I had never heard of before. before in terms of the last 5 calls that you've gotten where people were asking you for something other than money, how people are looking at you and how people are viewing you. Oh my goodness. We are coming to the end of our conversation. I cannot believe this. And so as we're coming to the end, we're getting ready to announce the book. That, yes, now I've revealed it. It's going to be a book to 2 winners. So before I have you give your parting shots and anything else you want to say about purpose, what I want to do is I want to talk to the audience a moment, because I've been asking you to give us your feedback and your comments all over social media. You can text us at 20316. That's one way for your feedback. And also you can send us a WhatsApp message on 0786 316 316. Now, it'll be one of those 2 ways where you'll send your feedback on today's show that we're going to pick from only those winners. So I always want you to give feedback all over social media, but either the text or the WhatsApp will be the way that we choose 2 very blessed winners who will win the book. Now, really quickly, in just a few seconds, I'm going to ask you, Aggie, to show them what they're going to win and just hold that up. And what is it called?
Yes. So the book is called Purposeful Focus: Mastering Distractions and Achieving Your Purpose.
And 2,
Yeah.
you've been so gracious. Again, this is the first time we are ever having a giveaway. So 2 people. So we'll only choose from those people who will do it, okay? Who will win them. Of course, here you do need to be in the Nairobi, Kenya area. Let me be clear. I know.
No, we can send an e-version to anyone.
Oh, okay.
From anywhere.
Okay. All right. So look at that. Just easily it became
So resourceful.
it went from being local to global. So I want you to keep that in mind. Now, back to the guest today. You have walked us through some amazing gems of how to walk in power and in purpose. And I'm so grateful that both of you have been the ones to do that with us. So I'm going to ask you for your parting shots of what is it that you want to end off for our audience to remember about how to walk in purpose and power. Aggie, I'll start off with you.
Well, I think I will probably use one of the quotes in my book that I love very much, is that the new superpower in this era, and by era I mean in the world that is super we have so many distractions that we come at, and every single day you're processing 6,000 voices, 6,000 decisions and everything, of which 95% are negative. Finding your purpose is the new compass to excellence.
Thank you so much. Oh, and I'm sorry, Aggie, before we go over to Michelle, Aggie, tell us one place that our audience can find you, because you've dropped some gems. Someone want to get in touch with you.
Well, I'm on Instagram, Aggie_Itazia on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. But for my book, you could be able to find it from Nation Media Couriers. They do all the deliveries if you're in Kenya. If you're on Amazon, it's available on Amazon, and you can be delivered anywhere in the world.
Okay, thank you, Aggie, so much for being here today. Michelle, I'm coming over to you for your parting words that you want people to remember about how to walk in purpose and power.
Okay, so I think it's important to think about we have one life. And this is not a dress rehearsal. So if we tap into our why, which basically means that we're present, we're conscious and we're purposeful, then we can lead our life as we want it to be the best that it can be. We don't want to be on our deathbeds and have regrets. So if we don't want to have regrets, then we need to live our lives on purpose, and we can start today.
Michelle, please tell us where people can find you.
Well, you can actually find me every morning at Karura, walking, but you can find me on Instagram, International Life Coach, and also you can find me on LinkedIn, Michelle Arscott. So I'm there.
And you've heard it all. So all of you who are watching today, I actually want to say this because I know I'm getting so much as the host of this show, and we want to continue this kind of programming that edifies, programming that does more than just inspire, but programming that transforms. So I ask you also today to partner with us. Again, you can partner with us by sending a donation anywhere in the world through the M-Pesa app by clicking on Paybill and putting in the Paybill number 316-316. And as far as the account number, just enter in your name, just as simple as that. Everyone, we've heard from how to find your purpose, to some practical strategies, to even feeling good about, even if you're thinking my purpose is changing, hopefully you feel affirmed and that it's okay if that is happening. And we've dug into some very practical strategies that everyone can do and start right now. This has been Rise and Shine. I want to remind you that with a renewed mind, you not only transform yourself, but you transform the world around you. Yes, I said the world around you. This has been Rise and Shine, and I am Vuyanzi. Tune in next time.